What it is. Happy Tuesday. 2 days after the Super Bowl, 2 days after Bad Bunny and Kid Rock squared off. So we're going to talk about that today so that we catch you guys up. We missed our show yesterday. Back to you guys today talking about the Epstein files. We have some new breaking news. We have co-conspirators revealed. We have Howard Lutnick's involvement in, revealed. People are calling for his resignation. Other international leaders are going to resign over the Epstein files. It seems like it's causing more problems in other countries than here. Our White House still stands behind Howard Lutnick. I call him Nutlick usually. So he admitted he went to the island today. So we'll show you that. We have some more stuff revealed about Donald Trump potentially in a file I just grabbed and his knowledge of what was going on. It was revealed in the files that he perhaps told authorities that he knew exactly what was going on, which is actually kind of a problem for Donald Trump, I think. So we'll go over that. We'll go over the halftime show, see if you guys believe in the fake numbers. We'll wait for you guys to join the chat. We have talk of Jerky. So little split decision on the Epstein files is, does it reveal Pizzagate like possibilities? There is code language, it appears in the files. I don't know what the jerky is. I'll read you the file with the jerky. There's also pizza and grape soda, which we read you guys previously. Are there codes in the Epstein files? Ben Swan made a video about it. We could maybe watch that. Town Crier says shrimp too. Well, there is the shrimp where he says you cut their head off and leave the body. I don't know if there's a smoking gun exactly in the Epstein files. I don't know. I look at both arguments, both sides of the arguments. A lot of people are implicated. A lot of people connected to Epstein. A lot of people wanted to deny it, and now they can't anymore. Don't know how you guys feel about Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon seems to be one of his best friends who is trying to rehabilitate his image before he got convicted. No, not the Jerky brothers. He may have been, maybe he was eating people. That's what people are implying, that he was eating people, eating young ladies, perhaps. Jerky. He's been eating too much jerky. I'll read you the file. So we'll show you what Lutnick said before, what Lutnick is saying now, that the White House is defending Lutnick. The Senate got to look at the unredacted files. Somebody is claiming that Trump's name is in there 1 million times in the unredacted files. In the redacted file, he's only in there like 50,000 times. So some people are saying that 950,000 times he's redacted, but I'm not sure if I believe he's in there 1 million times. We still haven't found anything proving that he is guilty of anything. And the girls all say Trump is fine. So I haven't gone that direction yet. I was out in public today, or I was out on the street, and there were people protesting. And one of the people had a sign that says Trump is a pedophile. That's what the left says. Trump is a pedophile. I don't believe there's any evidence to prove that yet. And in fact, even Jeffrey Epstein wasn't technically a pedophile. I think they call it hebephile, or I saw something like hebephile or something like that. Some people like to get technical. Some people call the victims whores. That's what some people say. I had somebody say that in my chat. They were teenage young women who were being paid for sex and then were involved in the trafficking themselves. People are afraid to say the names, but now some co-conspirators have been revealed now that the unredacted files have been viewed. Thomas Massey is on a crusade about it. Ro Khanna is a little bit on a crusade about it. So we'll show you that. We will also give, there's also an email, or there was also a statement prepared for Jeffrey Epstein's death, which was released the day before he died, allegedly. So it's already out of the news, but I'll show you that. The statement for immediate release on Jeffrey Epstein's death came out the day before he died. That's the date on it, at least. So I'll show you that. The Brave Little Toaster says Maxwell is trying to cop a deal with Trump. Yep, Maxwell went and testified. And she said she would clear Trump and Clinton. She said she would clear Trump and Clinton, but needed to get clemency first. She's already in something they call Club Fed. We don't know why she got moved there. People are upset about that. She wanted clemency to be able to testify, and then she said she would testify saying that Trump and Clinton were both not guilty. The Clintons are coming up to testify. They want to make sure it's public. So we'll see if that happens. Maybe we'll cover it live. We'll see. Got some news on the economy. Some numbers came out today. Not very good numbers have been coming out lately. Not very good numbers coming out lately. Customer spending missed today, or consumer spending, I should say, missed. It was up 0%. It was supposed to be up 0.4%. Job numbers come out tomorrow. So we'll show you some comments on the economy and some comments about how people feel about their lives. We'll show you guys some Trump interview. And like I said, we'll talk about the Super Bowl and halftime show. All right. So thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll play the intro and we'll get started. Okay. Cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is. Joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. And I bring you the news, the real news. HUD 420 says staying away from the Today Show mother. That's fake too. Yeah, they just released video about that. I don't know what's going on with that. It's just not that interesting. It's just like one person who got kidnapped theoretically, and they said they didn't have images of it, and now they have images of they have video of the people that did it, even though originally they said they didn't. It's been at least a week. Wouldn't she be she would theoretically be dead already. I don't know what's going on with that. So anyway, if you want to support the show, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. We are still classified as a hateful channel, so we don't have super chats available on this channel. So you can super chat by going to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. You can buy t-shirts on closeout liquidation sale at Truth Revolution Clothing. That's truthclothing.io. We have a lot of great shirts. Check them out. Truthclothing.io. These are our shirts. You get your Question Everything shirts, your Bitcoin shirts, Lift the Veil, lots of female styles. Check them out at truthclothing.io. Get them while you still can. They will be sold until they sell out. Truthclothing.io or buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. Why am I hateful? It's not hateful. I am dangerous or something. They classified me as something like dangerous. So which halftime show did you guys watch? Did you watch the Super Bowl? The Super Bowl was really bad. I bet on the Patriots. I bet $20. There was a lot of gambling on the Super Bowl, more gambling online than anywhere in Las Vegas. $1 billion apparently on Kalshi, just bet on the Super Bowl. The game was terrible. The halftime show was, what did you guys think? I didn't think it was that bad. I don't think it was that bad. I kind of agree with young Nick Fuentes, who went off about how the right is losing when they have people like Kid Rock on. So I tend to agree with that. I didn't want to watch Kid Rock. I had no interest in watching that. I watched Bad Bunny. I didn't understand a word of it, except for Lady Gaga. I didn't understand any of it. Apparently, the Spanish isn't even very good. Apparently, even Spanish speakers can't understand what he's talking about. It's some kind of popular, but he is popular. So anyway, I didn't think it was that bad. Here's Kid Rock. Apparently, yeah, I thought it was a lot of fake outrage, basically, from people like Matt Walsh, who every single time criticized the Super Bowl halftime show. It is I'm kind of over the constant comments on culture wars. Here was Kid Rock. Apparently, he said he wasn't lip syncing, but this is what it looked like. And this is for the questions you don't have any answers. Midnight answers, the time was cancer. Again, freeze the cars back with Pittsburgh. The cheese with the 40s and the chicks with Pittsburgh. The northern lights and the southern comfort. And it don't even matter if your veins are punctured. All the crackheads, the critics, the... Apparently, they just matched up the audio really bad. It wasn't live. It was pre-recorded. They hired like 200 extras. And then apparently they botted the numbers. I don't know if I believe the 5 million viewers. This is a guy watching with 5 million viewers and the chat wasn't even moving during the halftime show.
Yo, is the chat frozen? I don't get it. Live chat then. It's not loading it.
I just want to catch my fish, drive my truck, drink my beer.
The chat isn't moving at all.
Guys,
not wake up to all this
hello?
Stuff I don't want to hear.
Hello?
Kind of gun I hunt with.
So I don't know if it was real. I don't know if it was real at all. But maybe people watched it. I heard a bunch of people watched it. And then people claimed victory and everything. Said it's going to change everything. But what happens next year when the halftime show is in English? I don't know. Do we always have to have an alternative to the halftime show? We will pray for a better football game next time. We'll pray for a better football game. Trump's numbers aren't very good. People are saying Biden was a better president. Even on Rasmussen's poll, the poll that likes Donald Trump, Biden is 48% to Trump 40%, who did a better job as president. So they lost another election. I mean, it's looking really bad. The numbers are looking really bad for Trump. All right. So anyway, let's get into the Howard Lutnick being exposed in the Epstein files. He's in the Epstein files. He's all over him. He claimed he ended his friendship he claimed something which wasn't true. This was an interview he did originally saying that he was next door neighbors to Jeffrey Epstein in his townhouse in Manhattan. So he was next door neighbors to Jeffrey Epstein. And this was the account he gave originally of how he never saw Epstein again. So this is his original account.
He was your neighbor for 10 years. How well did you know him?
All right. So we are in number 11 and he lives in number 9.
Right.
So we renovate, we buy our house, and our house is pigeons and mice.
Right.
Okay. It was derelict.
Right.
So we rebuild our house. We move in 2005. Okay. Jeffrey Epstein is arrested in like 2008, I think, or something like that.
Right.
So knock on the door. His assistant on like a Saturday says, Mr. Epstein, your neighbor would like to invite you over for coffee. So my wife and I go next door. We walk the 7 steps,
Yes.
right, to the next house for coffee. We share a wall.
Right.
So it's in New York City. So he invites us in. We have coffee in this, and he says, "Do you want a tour?" We said, "Great."
Interesting.
He's got a really big house.
Every room you went into?
He's got, well, I'll tell you. So his house is like super big, really wide. And so he gives me a tour in the living room, big living room. And then across from it is double doors. I assume it's the dining room.
Yeah.
And he opens the doors, and there's a massage table in the middle of the room.
Ooh.
And candles all around and stuff. So I ask very insightful, cutting questions. I say to him, "Massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage?" And he says, "Every day." And then he gets weirdly close to me.
Ooh.
And he says, "And the right kind of massage."
Ooh.
Now my wife is standing here. So she looks at me and I look at her, and we say, "I'm sorry, we have to go." And we left. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again.
Really?
So I was never in the room with him socially, for business, or even philanthropy. If that guy was there, I wasn't going, because he's gross.
There you go. That was his original interview testimony, but then it was revealed in the files that he had lots of communications with Epstein. Some people are saying he's involved with Tether, the cryptocurrency. Yeah, through his son. He's involved with Tether, which has never been audited. He's a sleazy guy. So here he is giving testimony today about how he went to the island. So here he was. So he lied in that testimony. Who knows where he came up with it? May have just been completely fabricated. Here he is talking about going to the island.
Lutnick, I think you understand the root of concern here. It's the way you described very emphatically your first encounter with him in his apartment, said you were disgusted, would never have any contact with him again. Did you in fact make the visit to Jeffrey Epstein's private island?
I did have lunch with him as I was on a boat going across on a family vacation. My wife was with me, as were my 4 children and nannies. I had another couple they were there as well with their children, and we had lunch on the island. That is true, for an hour, and we left with all of my children, with my nannies and my wife, all together. We were on family vacation. We were not apart. To suggest there was anything untoward about that in 2012, I don't recall why we did it, but
Mr. Secretary, again, as I said,
There you go. So obviously it was lying the first time, and the documents revealed that he has a much more extensive relationship with Epstein. And many people, like overseas, if they had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, they're being asked to resign. So people are saying that Howard Lutnick should resign right now. And the press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, was asked about it today. And so was Mike Johnson, who defended Lutnick. Doesn't look like he's going to resign. Doesn't look like he's going to be asked to resign. Here's what Carolyn Leavitt said about it.
Caroline, Secretary Lutnick today was testifying on the Hill, and he said that he had visited Epstein's island in 2012 with his wife and children, and that's after he said that he had cut ties with Epstein. And the Justice Department documents show that he was in contact with Epstein through 2018 over messages. So does the White House stand behind Secretary Lutnick right now, or given what he has said today, has there been any shift in how the White House is viewing Secretary Lutnick's performance?
No, Secretary Lutnick remains a very important member of President Trump's team, and the president fully supports the secretary. I will just point out that there are a lot of wins in the news this week that people in this room have not asked about, because you continue to ask questions about the same subject. So let me point them out for you.
Caroline,
She just tries to change the subject. They can't wait for people to move on about the Epstein files. It's never going to happen. I guess there are so many. I mean, it keeps coming out. More and more information keeps coming out. This was, this is something that I just saw right before the show. A list showing people who had knowledge of finances and the defendant's sexual desire for minor girls. It includes Jean-Luc Brunel, Les Wexner, Mark Epstein, Donald Trump, David Copperfield, and Ghislaine Maxwell. And it says next to Donald Trump's name, knowledge of finances and defendant's sexual desire for minor girls. This is what I always said, is it isn't necessarily that he participated. It was just that he knew what Jeffrey Epstein was up to. So that's what's implicated in this file, which says Donald Trump called the Palm Beach police chief about Jeffrey Epstein. It said he knew Epstein was disgusting. Trump said Maxwell was Epstein's operative, quote, she is evil and to focus on her, unquote. Trump told blank that he was around Epstein once when teenagers were present, and Trump, quote, got the hell out of there, unquote. Trump was one of the very first people to call when people found out they were investigating Epstein. Now, at one point, Mike Johnson said that Trump was an FBI informant against Epstein. And some people who claim that was real are looking at this document as support that Trump actually turned him in. But if Trump really knew about what he was doing, he didn't say anything until after he was arrested. It looks like. That's if this is real. Carolyn Levitt was asked about it today and seemed to suggest that might not have even been a real conversation. But this is what Carolyn Levitt said about it today.
Last several days, again, regarding a separate topic, the Epstein files. According to newly released files, the president had a conversation with the Palm Beach police chief in the early 2000s, according to the police chief in 2019. The president has gone on record before and he's told reporters that he said that Jeffrey Epstein, he had no idea about Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. During this conversation with the police chief, however, he did say, according to this recounting of it, that thank goodness you're stopping him. He also called Ghislaine Maxwell evil. So my two questions are, did that conversation with the Palm Beach police chief happen? And can you explain the discrepancy?
What I will say is that the president has always remained consistent and that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his club at Mar-a-Lago because, frankly, Jeffrey Epstein was a creep. And unlike many other people who are named in these files, President Trump cut off his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and was honest and transparent about that for years and years. And so I think what the president has said all along has always remained true. And the release of more than 3 million documents related to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous, disgusting crimes just shows the level of transparency that this president and administration has committed to in bringing these files to light.
But did he call the chief in 2006? Caroline, did he call the chief?
Look, it was a phone call that may or may not have happened in 2006. I don't know the answer to that question. What I'm telling you is that what President Trump has always said is that he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club because Jeffrey Epstein was a creep, and that remains true. And this call, if it did happen, corroborates exactly what President Trump has said from the beginning. And I'm sure many of you, when you read that alleged FBI report, probably thought to yourself, wow, this really cracks our narrative that we've been trying to push about this president for many years. So we're moving on from that. Reagan. Thanks, Carol.
Moving on. Well, the problem is that if it's true, then he was actually not being honest before, which is what the journalist was referring to, is Donald Trump has maintained, in addition to apparently knowing that Epstein was a creep, in addition to coming up with different reasons for kicking him out of the club, that he didn't know what Epstein was up to, which would be kind of important, because if he did know, then he should have said something sooner. And he shouldn't have had a relationship with him at all. So which was it? That's the question. Which was it? Did he know or didn't he know? And that's, I guess, why she's denying or being evasive about whether the phone call actually happened. So I don't know if they're going to confirm whether the phone call was genuine, because then it would prove that Donald Trump did know, which is kind of what I maintained all along. It's not about whether Trump is guilty of participating. It's whether he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein and knew what Jeffrey Epstein was up to and still was friends with him. And that's what it is for all the other people who were friends with him. And now Howard Lutnick, who apparently, so if his story is true, that he saw the massage table and then knew he was a creep, then he hung out with him anyway and corresponded with him for a long time. So very problematic for the Trump organization. All right, here's the thing about Jerky. And you guys decide how much this has to do with Pizzagate. This is a story. It's from a person named Francis Derby, who is apparently the chef of a restaurant called The Cannibal in New York. Just wanted to touch base about Jerky. J.E. said he was going to start eating regular food again, so he might be eating less jerky. That said, he has 6 bags of it in the downstairs freezer for his next trip. I believe it should be enough to get him through. Any other questions, please let me know. Thank you, Francis. So I don't think you put jerky in a freezer, for one thing, because it's already dried and already maintains its state properly. So that's a strange aspect of it. And then he's also the chef for a restaurant called The Cannibal. But I don't know. Was he eating people? I don't know. Does it have evidence of him murdering and eating women like some people claim? I don't know about that. What do you guys think? Jerky. So anyway, that's the guy talking about Jerky. Pirate Justin says, who refrigerates jerky? Exactly. That's not normal. And then what about pizza and grape soda? All right, here's Thomas Massey talking about how Wexner's name was revealed. We already knew Wexner was one of his main co-conspirators, Wexner and Jean-Luc Brunel in particular. So here's Thomas Massey in an interview.
An example of something, maybe it wasn't intentional on their part. I'd like to hear his take on the redaction of the CEO, who's listed as a co-conspirator in the 2019 child sex trafficking case.
So can I ask you, because, and I want to ask if this is the same person, Todd Blanche also said about that tonight that the document you're citing there has victim names in it.
Correct.
Seeming to say that's why there are redactions. He said, we have just unredacted Les Wexner's name from this document, but his name already appears in the file thousands of other times. And he says the Justice Department is hiding nothing. Is that the retired CEO that you're referencing?
It is. He unredacted it after I found it. That's a problem. And I'm glad they've admitted they made a mistake by redacting that.
So you're saying it was redacted when you went in there today, and after you tweeted that, they unredacted it?
Correct. Now he's got 4 other names he needs to unredact. Did he respond to that? There's a list of 20 people. And there's 4 men in there that need to be unredacted. Here's another troubling thing that I found.
Can you say who those 4 men are tonight?
I don't think they're well known. And so if I did, it wouldn't matter, but I could probably say them on the floor of the House. But I'll give the DOJ a chance to do what they did in these 2 examples, where I've discovered something and now they've responded.
Okay, so they unredacted the name of Wexner. So now they're starting to unredact some of the names of the so-called co-conspirators, all because of pressure from Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna. Wexner and Epstein corresponded. Epstein wrote in a draft letter to Les Wexner, "You and I had gang stuff for over 15 years. You and I had gang stuff for over 15 years. I owe a great debt to you, as frankly you owe to me. I had no intention of divulging any confidence of ours." And I believe there is a victim who claims she was abused by Les Wexner in his house. So here are the other co-conspirators: Salvatore Nuara, Zurab Mikoladze, Leonok Leonov, Nikola Caputo, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, and billionaire businessman Leslie Wexner. The Sultan is the Sultan, I believe, who might have bought crypto from Donald Trump. So here's the statement from the United States Attorney's Office. A statement on the death of defendant Jeffrey Epstein, dated August 9th, 2019, and he actually died on August 10th. So I don't know if you guys think that that's an honest mistake. Many people are claiming that he's still alive. Or they could claim that they knew he was going to die in advance. But this is the statement, and the statement says, what ended up happening. That he was found in his cell, unresponsive, and pronounced dead. But it was dated August 9th. Could just be a mistake in dating, if you want to be generous. But it did come out the day before, allegedly. As you can see from this statement from the United States Attorney's Office. Very interesting. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene going off on Trump. Show you that.
Jeffrey Epstein was supposedly killed. That's on an FBI form. That's not somebody calling in an anonymous tip or writing it on some deep, dark place in the internet. That's an actual FBI file stating what happened. And people are going to have to completely take in what they are seeing with their own eyes, what they're reading, and what they're being told. The reality is the Trump administration is not releasing the information. And I got yelled at by the president over this. This is why he called me a traitor. He called me a traitor because I would not take my name off the discharge petition, because I stood firmly and said, no, we're going to release the Epstein files. I'm standing with women who were raped as teenagers. I'm not standing with the government. I don't support the cover up of all of this stuff, whatever it may be. And the president got mad at me, and he's told me, and I've said this multiple times, he told me his friends would get hurt. And that's what he told me. And then we're seeing a continued slow walk and cover up of a lot of this information. And I know that is why. I firmly believe that that's why it is being covered up. Look, Pam Bondi works directly for Donald Trump. She is not out there an independent attorney general. She can't just run out and do whatever she wants. She works at the pleasure and approval of the President of the United States. Everybody in the administration does. So does the FBI. They're under the very same pleasure and approval of the President of the United States. So when everyone's getting mad at Pam Bondi, or you can name anybody you want. The man at the top is Donald Trump. He's the president. And he's the one that was completely against releasing the files when we started fighting to get them released. He's the one that called it a Democrat hoax. He's the one that, you know, he invites everybody to the White House, but he will not invite these women that have defended him, by the way. They have defended him and said Donald Trump did nothing wrong. They have defended him, yet he doesn't bring them in the White House and support them. But what you're seeing is if it looks like a duck, and if it quacks like a duck and it walks like a duck, it's a duck.
Or it might be a Lutnick.
Swallow.
Or it might be a Lutnick duck.
There you go. So that's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Do you think she'll run for president? Maybe. Curious what she's up to. I would think about Marjorie Taylor Greene, even though she's no genius. All right, that's the news on the Epstein files. That's the news on the Epstein files. Many people are comparing it to Pizzagate and bringing back Pizzagate into the story. All right, we have updates on the economy. I have been predicting economic doom for years and years and years and years and years. We had a bad week last week in Bitcoin and stock markets since it came back. But tomorrow jobs numbers come out and they are predicting, it seems like they're setting us up for bad job numbers. Many people are talking about the possibility that we are actually going into a recession. Lots of numbers lately have been bad. Record layoffs. And so here's Navarro saying that the jobs numbers that are coming out are probably going to suck.
One thing I want to note, the jobs report's going to come out tomorrow. Yeah. We have to revise our expectations down significantly for what a monthly job number should look like. When we were letting in 2 million illegal aliens, they're coming in. We had to produce 200,000 jobs a month for steady state. And by the way, all of the jobs that we were creating in Biden years were going to illegals. Americans were going to the unemployment lines. That's totally reversed. And now 50,000 a month is going to be more like what we need. So Wall Street, when this stuff comes out, they can't rain on that parade. They have to adjust for the fact that we're deporting millions of illegals.
That's a good
out
point.
Of our job market.
But it sounds like you're expecting a weak number tomorrow.
No, not expecting a weak number. I'm just saying that going forward, when we see a number under 100,000, we don't wring our hands. We say, yeah, that's going to be steady state.
Peter, great to see you.
It's all good, Maria. Always great to be with you.
There you go. So we're going to get bad job numbers tomorrow. We'll see how the market reacts. Donald Trump is still talking about a stock market going to 100,000. It hit 50,000 recently. It's still over 50,000 today. Silver is doing okay. Gold is doing okay. Everything kind of came back. Everybody went short the stock market. So there was a big short squeeze. Bunch of stuff came back. Bitcoin is at 69,000 today. 69,000 right now. We'll see where it heads. Here's Donald Trump talking about lowering interest rates. The problem is we pay interest on our debt. Donald Trump is obsessed with lowering interest rates. For part of the reason is that if we don't lower interest rates, we have to refinance a bunch of our debt this year, and we already pay over $1 trillion in interest expenses alone, and that might go up to like 1.5 trillion this year once we refinance all of our debt at higher interest rates. So here he is talking about how we have to cut interest rates for the debt. He understands that.
Interest rates should be lower. You know, every point is $600 billion. Think of that. $600 billion. All he has to do, if we went down 2 points, we don't have a deficit anymore. And that's without cutting. And it's just a paper charge. When you think about it, it's a paper charge. We should be the lowest interest rate in the world. The reason I bring up the Switzerland, because we should be lower than everybody. You know, Switzerland's like just about the lowest. If I charge them tariffs, they would not be doing very well. They would not be doing very well. I treated them very nicely, actually, but they would.
So there you go. Anyway, he wants the interest rates going to zero. The new Treasury Secretary, or the new chair of the Fed, is the thing that scared the markets because he doesn't like quantitative easing theoretically, but now people are saying maybe he does. Trump says we can grow at 15 to 20%.
And they say 3% growth. Oh, this is great. GDP. 3% GDP. 2.5%. They're very happy. 2.5%. 2%. 1%. They're happy with anything. We should grow 15 or 20%. Larry, every time we're growing, they stop it by announcing that, we're going to raise interest rates and stuff. So we're going to do 5.4%. It was announced with a Democratic shutdown, which cost us at least 1.5 points. Okay. People don't realize we could have been at 7%. We should be at 15%. I'll tell you, if our new head of the Fed, who I think is going to be great, and he's a really high quality person. He was and your friend Kevin was great, but I want to keep him with us too. I said to King, look, I had the two Kevins, right? But I wanted to keep him with us. He's doing great. But if he does the job that he's capable, we can grow at 15%. I think more than that.
Well, 15 is a big number, sir.
But Larry, you can do it. The problem is every time we used to grow at 15%. And, when we were starting as a country, we were growing.
Yes.
Because we had spirit and we had the right incentives. Today we have a lot of socialism, a lot of communism. We have a lot of bad things. But there's look, we did 5.4 with a shutdown. Think of it. We can do that. This country can do it. Tariffs are very important. The money I'm taking in.
I don't think we can do 15%. In any case, everybody's getting poorer except for a few rich people who own things. So I think if you wanted to do that, we'd have very, 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 very high inflation. So just in economic numbers, U.S. consumer delinquencies hit a near decade high. Loan delinquencies rose to 4.8%. That's the chart. Highest they've been since 2017. So that's just some economic numbers for you. It seems like we're probably going into a recession to me, but who knows? Epstein is Pizzagate. All right, that's all I have for you guys today. I've been trolling through the news. I drink my coffee. I eat my cookies. I go through the news. There hasn't been as much in there lately. So that's everything I have for you guys today. I'll check my coffees. You can support the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. That's how I can buy coffees. I think I already read the latest. Gabriel is the latest who bought a coffee, who says he's going to be buying more Bitcoin. So I think that's the latest that I have. So if you want to support the show, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil anytime, even after the show is over. I also post these as a podcast, so you can download the show there. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Great to see you today. And we should see you tomorrow around the same time, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time, the Lift the Veil show. For now, that's what it is.